What's up, friends? Hope you all are doing well and staying creative. In this video, I want to drop some secret sauce, give you a golden technique on how to get more headroom in your mixes, aka get louder mix downs without any consequences. I know, it sounds too good to be true, but I'm talking about no consequences, without compressing, without destroying your dynamics or distortion, or no fancy plugins, none of that. But this trick lets you get your mix louder, cleaner, and punchier without turning anything down. All right, so let's talk about the idea first. So one of the problems in mixes that eats up headroom is transients lining up at the same time. So the most common example of this is like a kick and a clap, or a kick and a snare, especially like in house music where you have the clap on the 2 and the 4, and that lands right with the kick drum. Now, the kick drum in dance music especially is your loudest element, and the clap is also generally a pretty loud element, and they both have a very sharp transient. And what I mean by transient is just that initial hit is that initial couple milliseconds is a lot louder than the rest of the sound, the sustain of the sound. So when you have both of those transients lining up perfectly, they sum together, and that creates huge momentary spikes which eat up your headroom instantly. Now, if you delay one of those transients, say just 1, 2, or maybe 3 milliseconds, now those transients aren't perfectly lined up. You've offset them just enough to now when they play together, they don't create that huge momentary spike, and you've thus created more headroom in your mix, and you've actually not turned anything down. You've just offset two sounds by just a very small amount, in most cases not even noticeable. So now let me go into a project and demonstrate what I'm talking about. Okay, so we're in Ableton, and I've just created a simple, beat to demonstrate what I'm talking about here. So really what we want to pay attention to more than the beat itself is the meters here, especially this peak level right here, this main peak. So I'll just play the beat and just observe that. So you can see we're already pretty close to 0 dB. Obviously I could turn everything down and that'll turn down the master, but this peak meter is really peaking out when the snare hits with that kick drum, and there's a couple other elements in here. Maybe it's that bass line as well, but the main thing here is that snare and the kick. So let's play this again. You could see let me take the snare out. Look at that, we're at -4.5 dB, and that's just taking the snare out. With the snare in, it was hitting like -1. So, that's like over 3 dB of headroom that we're pretty much losing out because we have a snare playing on top of the kick. Now, individually, you can see that the kick drum peaks at -8.7. The snare individually peaks at like -8.5, but together, that's when they, sum together really hard and start spiking out your master level. So let's try delaying this just by a millisecond. Already a little better. We've gained a little bit. Before, this peak was happening around like -1.2, now it's -1.6, so we gained a little bit. Let's go to 3 milliseconds. And look at that. We're at -3. So we have just gained 2 dB. From where we were, without any delay, we were at about -1. Now we're at -3, so we've gained 2 dB of headroom just by delaying the snare. So let's look at some other elements here. Let's take a look at this hi-hat and this hi-hat. So here, I'm just going to look at the fader. They're the meter on the drum bus. I'm just soloing the 16th hat and the upbeat hi-hat. We're hitting about -12 right there. So let's just let's delay the upbeat hi-hat by 2 milliseconds. All right, and just like that, we've saved about, we got about 0.7 dB of headroom right there. Not a whole lot, but those things add up. You get a dB here, dB over there. Those things really add up, especially if your goal is to try to make like a really loud mix, but that doesn't sound squashed. I mean, all these things kind of matter. So let's see. You can also add negative delay too. See, sometimes that works better. Oh, look at that, negative 13. So that negative delay seemed to work better on that upbeat hi-hat. Let's see what else we can do. I'm gonna take the kick. Sometimes it's better just to solo these, so you can see. For example, I'm gonna solo the kick, peaking at negative 8.77, like we would expect. Now we have a rim shot here, so you can see, boom. As soon as that rim hits, it's jumping up from negative 8.7 all the way up to negative 6.3. So let's see what we can do with that. Maybe we can, let's try some positive delay. Not really helping, making it worse actually. Let's go backward. Oh yeah, making it worse again. Actually much worse. Let's go a little bit farther, how about 3? Not really helping in this case. A whole lot. Yeah, I mean, I can go real far. I can go 5 milliseconds, but then you start to notice the flanging sort of effect between the rim and the kick, which sometimes sounds cool, and you might want that. And within a certain amount, it's kind of okay. But there's definitely a point where there's too much delay, and you might not want that sort of flanging kind of effect. I actually don't mind it here. It sounds nice because, I mean, to me, a little bit of delay instead of having the perfect, everything lining up also sounds a little more organic, because a real drummer isn't, usually is not playing exactly down to the, 0.1 milliseconds in terms of timing. So it kind of makes it feel a little more natural anyway. So I'm actually going to leave that rim shot at 5 milliseconds because I like how that sounds, and we're getting about, dB and a half of headroom there. So let's see how we're doing now. So we're doing pretty great there. There's something, it stays around -4, and then all of a sudden it jumps up to -3. I'm not sure what happens there to make it do that. It might be something in the bass. Let me see. I'm not sure. I'm gonna try delaying the bass a little bit too. I mean, the bass is sidechained to the kick, but sometimes it helps because, I mean, this bass also has strong transients here. You can kind of actually see it in the waveform a little bit too. The waveform itself has a little bit of a transient. But yeah, let's just try delaying the bass by like 2 milliseconds. Yeah, that was it. Something in the bass. So you could see it's weird, but yeah, and something in the bass was triggering it to spike another 1 dB just at that one moment. Is probably actually like right there, potentially maybe with the kick. But in any case, yeah, just delaying it 2 milliseconds, which isn't even noticeable, saves us another dB. So overall, we've went from like about -1 dB down to like -4. So what does that actually mean for like in practice? Essentially, now when you're in the mastering stage, I can turn this up 4 dB before it actually hits the limiter. Before, without all these delays, you could see, let me turn these delays off. Boom, dun, dun. You can see we're hitting this limiter a lot sooner. And then then you got that big spike with coming from the bass. So, we're already, 3 dB into the limiter, and we don't have to be. With all these micro delays, we're able to get the track louder before it even reaches limiting or clipping. And that's why when I'm doing a mixdown, the mastering stage ends up being really easy because I'm only having to drive into the limiter by probably 1 dB, sometimes not even. I'm not even having to do any limiting, and I'm still getting the loudness that I want to achieve because I'm taking all these precautions here, as well as, obviously other things in the mixdown process, but this does help quite significantly. 3 dB is actually pretty significant when you really think about it. That's the difference from going from, like, if you're talking about loudness, like 12 LUFS down to like 9, or if you're, say, like at 10 LUFS, you can get to like that sort of commercial pop 7 LUFS. But you can do that without completely destroying your dynamics. So peace.